the prohibited and restricted substances list. And on that, this is where the company have looked at the environmental legislation and identified which substances are prohibited and in what application, which substances are restricted and in which application. And what we say to our suppliers is that this is a mandatory requirement, you must work to this list. And it's not just to comply with environmental legislation, but it is also to ensure that we don't have harmful chemicals in our products. And if you want to use something that is on the list, we have now introduced a waiver form. I mean, what we used to do was just ask people to, it was perhaps not as rigorous as it could be. They had to tell us if there was anything there and a justification for use. But now we're having to be a bit more rigorous with how we actually accept it. We have to say, well, okay, formally document, well, why are we using it? Are there any alternatives? What's the risk? And what are you doing to mitigate the risk? The materials inventory spreadsheet that the suppliers will actually complete. They have to document what the item is, and they split it into the component parts, tell us what every material that's in it, what the mass is, and then that data is then imported into what we've got is the Bombardier CMAT database. Now CMAT is Certificates Environment Materials Database. Now it's under development. It's got a few teething problems, but it is quite a valuable tool insofar as once the data's in, you can manipulate it. What it's got there is for every material, they've got some values for how much of that material you could expect to be recycled, how much whether it could be you'd burn it to get energy recovery, or whether it's going to go to landfill. So for say aluminium, it would in the database it would say 100% could be recycled. But if it was something like nylon, they might say, well, industry practice tells us that perhaps 80% of it is going to be sent for energy recovery, and probably 20% might end up just going to landfill. So there's some basic data in the database that has been developed by our people. The people in the Centre of Competence gathered this data, and it is sort of going to be reviewed on a regular basis. But using that data, you can then calculate the recyclability of the vehicle, because you've got all your materials information there. So you can calculate recyclability, which is sort of like material recycling, or what they call recoverability, which is where you might not be able to recycle some of the rubbers or the plastics, but you could either burn it for energy recovery, that type of thing.